subscribe to this channel and also turn on your notification bell in order to get our latest updates.
But now, how do you even get persons to qualify to be part of such an inclusive dialogue?
Until you know
because just to follow up, he raised the issue of those who can legitimately represent the Anglophones. You say Anglophones should be there. Yes. How do you get
who are those legitimate people? We don't have them.
If we don't know what caused the problem, we will not know who to represent us. We have the Anglophone crisis and also the Ambazonia takeover. The Anglophone crisis started before 2016, which was a worry of teachers and lawyers. These teachers and lawyers had their worries which they presented to the government. And after presenting this thing, I could hear clearly within that period, Professor Bob Harmony said, it's either they give us a federal system or outright separation, which means two categories of persons were represented there. They were the federalists and the secessionists. After that, it came now to the Ambazonia people where they wanted the outright separation, where a government was formed. Remember that there was no government that was formed when they were demanding for federation. Now, political parties in the country have been demanding for federation since. Frundi, since the 90s, have preached federalism till date. Other political parties have come up, they have preached federalism. Federalism, I don't think, is even one of the problems. Federalists are taking advantage of the situation right now because federalism was a political idea that came since before the Anglophone crisis.
The SDF has always
preached federalism. So federalism is not even an issue. The issue here are the secessionists. Those are first and foremost the persons that, if I say, we still have crisis today, because the federalists are freely walking the streets of this country. They talk freely, they sit, but the poor cannot sit in this country are the secessionists. And if we have a crisis today, it's still held by the secessionists. If the secessionists give up today, there will be no crisis. All the federalists are taking advantage of the situation on ground to sell their idea. It wasn't part of the crisis. We are dealing with the Anglophone crisis. The Anglophone crisis is the issue of the secessionists. They want outright separation. So the people we need on the table are the people who are causing the brouhaha right now, which are the secessionists, not federalists. There was no crisis in 1994, 95, 96, where Frundi was pressing federation. There was no crisis. Now, to even come to the national dialogue, because the issue is the definition of the inclusiveness is one thing, and then the agenda or the content of the dialogue is another thing. What they went there to discuss was out of context. If they are called a national dialogue, they can't call a national dialogue for federalism. They cannot. They will never call a national dialogue to discuss on federalism. Number two, they will never call a national dialogue to discuss on special status. Special status was voted in 1996 in the parliament and it was endorsed. It needed just execution. We did not need a national dialogue for special status to go from. So the contents of the dialogue and the persons in the dialogue were out of order. The next thing that is causing us problem right now are the secessionists. So the people we are calling a national dialogue for is for secessionists, because it is a problem we want to solve. Federalism has never been a problem. It's your philosophy, it's your idea, it's your political desire. You may win the party, win the elections, and then institute federalism. If you don't win the elections, you cannot. So what is giving us headache right now? What took children out of school? Secessionists. What took people out of work? Teachers out of school. CDCs going down. All the activities. Houses being burned. People dying. It's secessionists. So the national dialogue was called to solve the secessionist problem, not confederation problem. It's a philosophy. That's why confederation can live here, but philosophy cannot stay here.
So Dr. Nick, you are saying he's an opportunist?
Of course. Of course. Federalists are opportunists to this crisis.
Okay.
Now, let me learn, Mr. Leo.
Yes.
They are opportunists to this crisis. Let us be very, very frank on this platform, because we are here to educate Cameroonians and tell the truth. You don't need to be out of this country to be a confederationist or federalist. But if you look at it, the people who are under hunt are who? Are the secessionists. So the national dialogue was called because children were deprived from going to school, caused by the secessionists, not federalists. The national dialogue was called because people were dying, houses were being burnt, properties were going down, school disrupted, other activities halted in the north and the south because of the secessionists, not federalists, not confederationists. Now, if they are called national dialogue, is to discuss on how to solve the problem of the secessionists in order not to continue bringing more pressure to the northwest and the southwest. Because if you take out the secessionist agenda today, there will be no crisis in the northwest and the southwest.
Okay.